Okay, welcome again to this lecture. Now we are coming to the meat of the lecture, the main part, which I think most of us would be interested in, and I would also like to share. Now, this is the core conditioning program that I have done for swimming many times. If you have followed the other lectures also, you'll know you can use principles and some exercises from this even for tennis, even for badminton. Swimming core does play quite a role for core stability, core strength, because there's no ground to push off from much other than at the turns and at the start. So majority of the movement that happens, your core needs to be stable to be able to catch the water and pull. So having a strong core in swimming, let's put it this way, there's no choice, there's no option. So how do you progress through a core stability program is what we'll go through. Something that I've used with all these different swimmers at different points in their careers, still use with many swimmers. So let's go through and just check. So let's say if you've got somebody who's a beginner, who's just started off, then this is obviously what you'll start with, okay, endurance and stability. This is what you'll master before you get to this level. How long do you master this? Maybe 6 to 8 weeks. This is later. This is for advanced level. Maybe I would suggest after around at least 4 to 6 months of training. For some people, this will be hard throughout life. For those who are young people, for them this is more than enough. Competitive people have to get to this and ideally to this. So what is it that we start off first with in base endurance? So you can start off with a side plank. So here this is the side plank. I have given you how many seconds to hold, 3 sets of 45 seconds. How to do the side plank, you should know. It is obviously, if this is the ground, I'm keeping my arm there and I'm holding on to it. Now, do you do a dynamic one or do you do a static one? Try with the static so that when you're there, you're just able to hold, and the side that is facing the ground is the side that is working to push you off. So it's your internal and external obliques here. They're working, of course, your transverse abdominis, the other muscles are also working to stabilize, but this becomes the prime side that's working. Now, in this, how does this help? If I do this and I do the other side and I'm doing 3 sets of 45 seconds. Stability on the lateral side will help you, especially for freestylers and backstrokers. Backstrokers when they're pulling, turning and going in. Freestylers when they are going straight and pulling off. The side, because you are moving, as we had checked the long axis and short axis strokes, you're moving longitudinally. It makes a big difference if you can stabilize and learn to strengthen one side of the of your torso. So the side plank does it in a very simple way, quite easy to do, no complication. Just make sure when you do, and I think I have in the conditioning course, strength and conditioning course for Indian population that I've done, I've explained these planks, how to do, how to maintain the pelvic position. So go through those lectures and join that course, I would say. The trick is to keep your shoulder blade locked in here, nice and steady, and a straight long body. For swimmers, it becomes specifically important to remind them to keep their length tall, because swimming, it makes a difference between somebody who's used to doing this versus this. Half an inch drop would mean in your reach as well, and half an inch distance. So if I can reach further versus reaching from here, that's all it is. You multiply that range, an inch extra over 100 meters, that makes a difference. So being long is the key, really lengthened, and being stable. So what you do is you stay stable, okay, on this side, teach them that first, then you move on to other exercises which will go in the strength phase. But now let's say somebody who's new is finding this too hard, because it's obviously one arm and you have to align and do. If it's too hard, do you still push them and say, no, you should, we have to push you because we train hard or go home? Is that what you're going to do? Good luck if that's what you're going to do. It won't work. So what you do is then teach them to do a basic plank. What's a basic plank? It's with your elbows down, in line with your shoulders here, and from this positioning you tuck your tail in and hold. Okay, now how to tuck your tail in, again I have shown that in the video for the course. Follow that if you want to learn further about how the technique is done. But start with something which is bilateral, so both elbows are used, both shoulders are used, and then progress to side plank. But this is how you have to progress to side plank. You can't be just doing plank all the time. Planks are good, of course, there's no doubt, but compared to side plank, which strains one side, these are maybe not as effective for an advanced person. So if you find it too hard, start with planks, then move on to side plank. Now once you've done that, what else can you do? Now something else that I do, I always use this with quite a lot of success, an isometric hip thrust, or sometimes this is also called a reverse bridge, where you lie on your back, you raise your hip, knees are bent, and you activate the glutes. You squeeze the glutes, you teach the athlete to keep their glutes squeezed, maintain a neutral pelvis, and just hold that position. So again, a great movement where you train the plank to work on your core, you train the gluteals to work on the other side. So there's core contraction when you're swimming. You are learning to have your core engaged not only on the anterior side, posterior as well. So your spine gets support from both sides, and you're able to propel, pass on that power from the legs to the arms, and opposite as well. What you pull, you're able to combine it with the legs too. The core works as the joining part between your lower limbs and upper limbs, and that's why it's important. And sometimes there are different definitions for core. It's not just your external obliques, your transverse, your rectus abdominis. It's not just your abdominal muscles. It also includes your glutes. It also includes your scapular stabilizers. So everything that works around the spine, basically the center, and then you can say is the arms, that basically is your core, the core, C-O-R-E, what is generally supposed to be your center of the body. So you do isometric hip thrust, hold for around 2 seconds. It's a very simple exercise, great for beginners, young kids, somebody recovering from injury, getting back, again very simple to do, easy, or in the off season where you maybe initially don't want to stress them too much, works great. Next you move on to the Superman. Superman, again you should be knowing this, how it's done, very simple. You lie on the floor, both arms straight, lift your arms, lift your legs, hold. Hold for approximately 1 minute. Great exercise, again one of my favorites for getting back pain out from most people. You can do the Superman. You can do variations of this. It can be either straight arms, or you can even make it into a Y, a T, W, A. You can do these different positions. I sometimes get people to even do a Dhanurasana and then a Bhujangasana. So you've got, and then even a Shalabhasana where you interlock the fingers and then come up. So different actions basically which can be done for the lower back. The main idea is to strengthen the lower back in the center, and then you work the retractors above by keeping your shoulders back in either the W, T, and so on. One more exercise that you can add, and I've written here the word quality. So quality, because it has to be done with good quality. 90-degree crunches, okay, which can be done for around 25 repetitions. So 90-degree crunches are unlike regular crunches where you just lie down on the floor and then your feet are down. You place your feet on a chair or on a stool. So your pelvis is in a posterior tilt, and this takes a lot of strain off the lower back. So if it's in a posterior tilt, the length of the rectus abdominis, your abdominal muscles, is also shortened. So you can just come up, contract, down, come up, contract, down. Simple exercise, great for beginners, great for kids to learn. It also is not too difficult because there's a hold and there's a break. There's a hold and there's a break. So it gives you enough time to master. If you have somebody who's just starting off and can't do the plank, can't do the side plank, start them on this. But like I've written the word there, the first word I've called is quality. Quality means you make sure that the technique is super good. so that they are not jerking their necks when they come up. Okay, they come up by virtue of the abdominals, hold, down, hold, down. Next, you can move on to, again for a beginner, is either with a band, your cable basic bands, or even with a cable, what's called a Russian twist. You hold the band, and again this I have explained in detail in the other course, but how to do, where you dissociate just the thoracic spine, do it from the top first, then you connect the thoracic and the lumbar and move together, and then you go where you swing it from full, where you lead with the top part. So it's quite a technical way to do, but great move. If you're doing it with a cable or a basic band, it's pretty safe to do. Here I've written it as Russian twist, and this is what it's called. Now let me tell you, especially all the younger guys who are getting into this, or girls who are getting into, don't get too sort of caught in these names. Many times I have these young coaches, young physiotherapists, strength coaches who will come, and they come with some fancy names, and then I'm sometimes like trying to figure out what are they saying, and they are so caught up in these new terms. For simple things, they just make it complicated by adding some different names. So if you look at what's a Russian twist, how is it done, it doesn't matter whether it's called a Russian twist, whether it's called an Indian twist, whether it's called a Pakistani twist, or whether it's called an American twist. What matters is how the movement is done. So don't get too caught up in all these presses. There's so many names. There's the Cuban press, there's the Palov press, then there's the Romanian deadlift, then there's the Bulgarian split squat, and people almost attach some meaning to it. It doesn't matter what it's called. If you want to call this, instead of a Russian twist, you want to call your name, you want to call it maybe a Santosh twist, or you want to call it Anthony twist, or maybe a Suleiman twist, your choice. It doesn't matter these names. And I know it's funny that I give this example, but the truth is that don't get so caught up in trying to come up with some fancy names or learn these fancy names. Understand the anatomy, understand the kinesiology. So understand what the muscles are doing, what are the actions they are causing, and what are the energy systems that are used. That's what matters. The names don't matter. So just had to go on that to bring this clarity, because many times we get quite awestruck, when you're new to the field, by these names. You think Russian twist is something that the Russian army does. Nothing like that. Okay, the Russian twist, rather, to explain, it is a twist where you want to work your core, you want to use your abdominals and everything, and you want to teach it to rotate. And what's the difference between a Russian twist and a plank and maybe a sit-up or a crunch? In the Russian twist, there's rotation and there's an end point. So it's a closed kinetic chain movement because you're holding on to something. Plank, again, it's a closed kinetic chain movement because your elbows are down, feet are down, but there's no rotation. Crunches, it's an open chain because your feet are planted, upper body is not holding anything. So each has its different role from a mechanical point of view. This is what you need to understand. It is not whether it's called, one is called Russian twist and one is called Bulgarian twist or Ukrainian twist. We are not trying to find the reasons for their wars. We just want to know the movements. So yeah, just like I've always said, don't get too much into the impressive stuff. Get into the effective stuff. Know what you're doing, and trying to get info rather than just sort of internet or Instagram drama. Now, once you've sort of mastered this, okay, let's say you've got a player and they've been able to do this for 2 months or so, this whole thing they've mastered, including even this. They're able to do this for approximately 2 months, maybe even 3 months. Okay, take your time, never rush. Like I've always said, stay safe. If somebody can't do this program early and they are struggling, don't push them and say, come on, look at the other person, they've done it in 4 weeks, they were able to do, look at you. No, some people will take longer, that's okay. If you try to push them and if they break something, their back goes off or something, you're responsible. So take your time, give enough time for everybody. Once they've mastered though, then you can look at this. Okay, that's when we are moving to the strength phase. So here we're looking at the first exercise that I use quite extensively, dynamic side bench abdominal crunches. What are they basically? If there's a bench, you'll lie sideways and you'll do a side bench crunch. So you will If one is almost hanging off the bench, goes down, comes up, goes down, comes up. The feet are kept on the bench by somebody sitting there, or you hook your you hook your feet on the bench and then you move your torso from the hip up is free, hip is on the bench, the rest. And then this is the action. Assuming I'm on a bench, and let's say the bench is on my left side, so I go crunch. So which side am I working? The side that is up. When I'm doing a plank, which side am I working? The side that is down. Why? Because my arm is connecting. I'm pushing off from here. I'm not pushing off. This is not what is pulling the body. It is the muscle which is here for a plank, and in a crunch it is this side. So again, a great move, open chain movement, because the top is free. So you're using your obliques to come in. A good movement to progress to make it harder, make them hold a plate and then do. Pretty effective move. What else can be done? Weighted heavy abdominal crunches. I've written there 5 reps, but as you can see, some of them have put 8 as well. You can go up to 8 reps. Though this is a strength move, but the abdominals are not really designed for pure strength, like how you can work the pectorals, your latissimus dorsi, your quadriceps. So what are heavy abdominal crunches? You hook your feet with either a person, or you can hook it on a bench, a decline bench. Take a good heavy weight and let them go down and really push up and come. Okay, down with a weight and come. Weight can be, I've gone up to 20-25 kgs with athletes. I'm talking about elite athletes. You check how much weight can be put. But this is where force, it's like doing a heavy bench press or a heavy squat. So this is where weight is used to make it harder. What else can be done in the strength phase? Hanging leg raises. You can add some ankle weights here and make them do, or you can sometimes make them hold a dumbbell if they are skilled enough, and then lift. So again, a great abdominal and hip flexor strengthening exercise. If done right, it can give a good difference and make a good difference to what's called the underwater dolphin kick. When people dive into the pool and they race, they initially will have that kicking action which goes like this underwater, and then they come out. That action, this can make a difference. So again, I'm giving you one of those tips, which normally I wouldn't share this much, but I'm sharing because I hope people can use. Why I say I won't share? Because any coach who's good will not be making videos and sharing it unnecessarily on YouTube. That's a fact. Okay. A lot of the exercises or the videos you see, how to run faster, how to swim fast, how to do this and that, you will not find top coaches doing that unnecessarily, because question is simple: why would I? Why would I teach what I've done with Olympians just for any and every person? Why should I? Something that I've built over time, something that I've studied, something that has taken time for me to learn and understand. Why will I just make posts about it? So it's a very simple rule. The ones who know their stuff will do their stuff. The ones who don't know will make the noise. So don't be one of those people who make noise, but learn what is needed, prove it, keep testing it, and you'll be required. People will come to you for training, or you'll just be making videos for YouTube or Instagram, not getting anything done. So the secret is really to know your stuff and then keep repeating. That's what makes the difference. Now, what else can be done in the strength phase? Heavy cable abdominal crunches. Now, this you can also do it on a machine. Sometimes you have some gyms which have a abdominal machine. It can be here and then you press, or sometimes you have a sort of handle behind by which you can press, and these are attached to the machine where you can adjust plates. So again, a great move for developing just brute force. You can do this even on a tricep machine, a tricep cable press down, whereby you can hold, make the person kneel on the floor, and then they pull down either from front, back. So great move again to develop force, and to develop force you would need extra weight. You would not be able to do this with just body weight exercises. So if you are looking at strength, you need weight. Weight comes in the form of either dumbbells, or you can do it with cables. Now here we are moving in a strength. The difference between the strength phase here, this and this, you can see the reps: 15, 8. So what do you do here? You take heavier weight, very simple. What was here, you increase the weight. Now you're really putting some force to go up to 8 reps and really pushing through. One advantage of the Russian twist for swimming, and even for, I would strongly suggest, this is something which makes a phenomenal difference in tennis. And what is the difference here between this and other moves for abs? In this, as you're pushing, if I've got the cable here and I'm pushing off, my adductor of the right leg and my abductor, the gluteals, even the glute maximus, will push off, will come into play to pull this. So this side is working and the inner side is working of my leg. So inner side of the leg, outer side of the leg that is away. And as you do this and as you control back, eccentric, again push off, you are mimicking the action which happens specifically in tennis. But this would also benefit swimming as well, because you're still learning to coordinate between opposite sides, and you can learn about the different muscle swing systems, sling systems. Just open your physiology books or anatomy books and you will understand the sling system where different muscles sort of work together. So this helps in that as well. So Russian cable twist here for 8 reps, each side works beautifully. Now we come to the power phase. Say now you have been able to do this and you've really built some good amount of strength in your athlete for the core, and now you want to get them to a point where they need power, where they can be using that core but in a quick movement. Okay, so force times velocity. This is where you come here, okay, to the power phase. Now what do you do in the power phase? So different moves, but basically speed is involved here. So how do you move to the power phase? First you can do the decline bench press and the decline bench power abdominal sit-up. So what I've mentioned is you can get into a decline bench, hook your feet, and if you can hold a light weight or not initially, just teaching the athlete to go down, touch and bounce off. So not holding there, it's like a jump, you go and bounce off, again go down, bounce off. So you're basically adding velocity to the movement. 1 up, 2 up, 3 up. This again can help them when they do their flip turns at the wall. They go into the wall, turn. So this is where your hip flexors, your abdominal strength, of course your lower back also working along with it can help. What else can be done? You can do the Swiss ball streamline crunches. Again, this is something which I like. I think the H here has gone shorter, but yeah, the spelling is wrong, but don't worry, I've made a mistake. The Swiss ball streamline crunches. What do you do here? The same decline bench that I've said, now you sit on a Swiss ball. You can hook your feet or make somebody stand. And why a Swiss ball and not a bench? Because a Swiss ball allows you greater range in extension. So you go down, if this is the ball and this is your body, you will go down, swing up, down, swing up, down, swing up. So again for the underwater kick, makes quite a difference. Simple, well not a simple move, quite advanced, but makes a difference. If you know it, then it's easy to teach, makes quite a bit of difference. Then we move on to overhead medicine ball throws. This is something you can add, which I've explained in tennis and in badminton also it can be done. They can be done forward also, they can also be done where they are thrown back. So overhead medicine ball throws, where you go into extension, boom, throw. Go into extension, throw. For if you are looking at maybe some effort for or some power for backstroke movements, you can even try back throws. Of course, keep in mind for these you need to have a good amount of space. Don't try it in your gym. If it's small, don't try it at your home. You'll break your wall clock or your wall probably. So yes, it can be done, but just know how to do it and where to do it. Medicine ball rotational throws, again power throws can be done, quite effective. You hold and throw. You have these balls nowadays, which have weight but they bounce as well. So if you have a good strong wall, you can do it, quick catch. See if you can do this with a throw and catching as well quickly, because if you can catch it, that really makes the difference. Close to a wall, let's say I'm standing close to a wall, I throw, catch, throw, catch. So there's that sort of, throw, concentric, eccentric, stabilize and throw. You don't want to go all the way and throw. This is fine for beginners, but power where ultimately you want to produce is with stability. So you want to do this initially, but over time you want to master where you can catch here and throw, catch here and throw. So you can turn faster. You don't have to go through the full range of the eccentric. You can hold halfway and move on. Great exercise to be done if you know how to do it. Then comes your high speed Russian twist. So this is nothing but a progression. From here we've mastered this, then we master here, and again speed is where, and that's why I've written here high speed Russian twist. So what do? Same technique, you'll hold a cable, and then from here with that cable high speed you'll be doing these movements. You can do them initially bent arm, extend your arm, longer the arm, more the load, longer the lever. Okay, so again with speed. Great move. All these I would say are amazing to do. Results are definitely going to be there with these. These are also excellent ways of injuring your athletes if you don't know how to handle this. So master these, learn about them, master these as well. These also will injure because if you, as you can see, weighted abdominal crunches, 5 reps, it's a lot of weight we are talking here. And if you don't know what to do, you will break their backs. So master, learn about this, how to handle strength and power. If you can't and if you are not too sure, just stick with this. If you are a coach, physio who's just maybe trying the basics, hang on with this. This will keep you safe, keep your athletes safe. But this you need to know, and I've mentioned in my other lectures too, you need to try this as well at some stage. If you're a person who's under 40 years old without any injury history, there's no reason why you shouldn't have done this. And if you have not done this yourself, and if you don't read about this and don't know the anatomy, then I would say you wouldn't have a right to teach about this. So you should have done this, and then you should have done this as well to know what it really does to your body. Okay. But if not, if you can't do for whatever reason, you have injuries or you're not into exercising much, stick with this. This is pretty safe. But don't try these two methods, where the strength comes in and power, because these will break your athletes, and that's why we have so many broken athletes who are out there, who just have so many injuries. So that's what I've sort of now shared with you, what I have done with different athletes, whether it's Srihari, Nataraj, whether it's Patel, with all these different athletes who've gone to the Olympics and various others who've got national medals, national records, so many of them. It's the basics. It's just about manipulating them, knowing when to push, knowing when to back off. It's not about changing too many things. Okay, so learn these, learn your endurance. What's the philosophy here? What's the philosophy and the science? Philosophy and the science, and then all this will start making sense for you. Now, just some tips for swimming programming I've written here. There are some of these studies which are the newer ones. You can go through them if you want. Combining resistance training with swim practice has significantly improved tethered swimming force and 50 meters time in breaststroke swimmers. So basically what it shows, it confirms that resistance training helps. It helps if done right. Then one more study, an 8-week core training program was done which showed core activation and force output leading to improvements in 50 meters front crawl, which is freestyle, in young swimmers. So core training does help, again if done right. One more study of 11 weeks of resistant sprint swimming improved interarm coordination and symmetry in female swimmers, reducing technique inefficiencies during maximal effort. So resisted sprint swimming, I've added this, but realize this is what coaches do. So resisted is where they sometimes use parachutes, what are called chutes in the water. Sometimes they have bands that are used. Sometimes they'll wear clothes like t-shirts and go for that extra resistance. So this has been shown to improve their interarm coordination and symmetry. One more thing, sprint swimming performance is largely determined by anaerobic power, stroke efficiency and body composition. So conditioning should prioritize both strength and technical economy. So what does this mean? It means that anaerobic power, meaning learning to work without oxygen, that is what for sprint, especially 50 meters and even up to 100 makes a massive difference. You need to have a lot of anaerobic power. Stroke efficiency is what is not your expertise. Stroke efficiency is the coach's job. Don't get into that. Body composition, you can say, is a bit of the nutritionist job as well, to keep the body composition good where there's not too much of excess adipose tissue or fat. So these are things that basically support what I've been speaking so far. These are my points I've written at the end, just for you to understand. You want stronger but lighter swimmers in water. because every extra kilo body weight is like a weight tied to your waist in races. So if you can get a guy strong but he has put on 2 kilos, it is not much help, because now they can pull more but they are also pulling a heavier weight. So the trick in swimming is to get a body which is stronger but lighter. So that is what you actually want to add to. And here I think I've mentioned this in the badminton and your tennis lectures as well. Consult with the coach and the swimmer to know the individuals and the individual needs. So what that particular swimmer needs and what is the sort of need of the individual sport as well. But ask the coach. Just because you've done a course or because you've done this course doesn't mean you know about swimming. Learn about swimming. What are the events? What are the actions? Get into it. Ask the swimmer. Sometimes you'll be surprised how much the swimmers can teach you. So I strongly suggest this. This is where wisdom comes in. This is not about, just some qualification. This is wisdom. When you have wisdom, you will know that you are there to help others to achieve their goals. You are not there to take charge and say, I am everybody. So if you can do this, you'll be in the field, you'll be able to help other coaches, you'll be able to help swimmers and contribute. But if you come there thinking, I am so and so, I have done this is my method, you will fail. People will not even listen to you. So this comes from a lot of experience, I can tell you, that you need to be very good at your job, but you need to know your place. You don't ever think that you're more important than the coach or you are more important than the swimmer. You have a role to play, but it's never more important than the coach. So if you can know this, you'll be in the field, you'll be able to contribute, you'll be able to, students to come to you, because if you know everything, but if nobody is coming and if you can't prove it to an athlete, really speaking, what's your role? So I know it doesn't sound great, but I hope you have learnt in this. So understand how this all works. Finishing, I will give you a small sort of story. Well, these are the references in case you want to go through, and books wise, I would suggest going through the NASM manual, definitely. NSCA, these are the basics. I mean, this is almost like the ABCs you should be knowing and going through these. Small story to finish off. I'll tell you what happened with me a long time ago. There was when I used to practice martial arts, I was into it full time. I was much younger. Speed was very good. I was light. So I had this one person who came, and he used to practice kung fu, and we used to practice a mix of kickboxing and everything. So he was, a typical guy who believed his style is superior, and I've always believed you learn everything. And he said he would display how to block a punch, and how it is so effective. And I was like, okay. Then he said, just throw a punch at me. And he was all ready to, block it and display, obviously, how it's done. And I was obviously very fast. And at that age, I was probably maybe 10 times faster than now. And I just went snap, my arm just went boom and came back. And he didn't even know. And he's like, hang on, wait, that I wasn't ready. And everybody was laughing because, he was so confident to teach how a block is. And again, he's ready. And I do it, and between his arms, my arm went and came back, nothing. And of course, if I had to touch his face, I could have probably knocked him out also much easier and probably thrown 3 punches, not just one. Now what I'm getting to here is that this person believed that his style and system is just effective. He didn't take into account what the other person is capable of. This is what mistake we can make sometimes as coaches, as conditioning coaches, as specialists, as sports science specialists. We just assume that I know. We are not taking into account the other person. So just like how somebody can punch you much faster than what you think you can block, sometimes your athletes are much better than what you think you know, and you can work with them. The idea is to work and learn, interact. The idea is not to only be a teacher. The idea is also to learn. So that story I wanted to get along, that you don't want to be the person who gets surprised one day thinking that, oh, but this is what I thought was everything. This is what I was taught in my course, or after this course, this is what I've learned. No, learning never ends. You'll always get somebody who will shock you with a speed punch. So it's the same which goes with teaching sports science as well. So keep learning, get your basics right. The basics, it was is what keeps repeating, you'll notice. It's not some new fancy latest thing. It's always the basics: stability, strength, endurance, power. Okay, stability, endurance, strength and power. That's how it works, right? So master these and I think you should be able to handle yourself well. Hope it's helped you to learn for this course, and all these things I hope you can put in with your students, and hopefully you can help people get to the Olympics, World Championships and various other competitive levels as well, just like how I've been able to, luckily. Thank you. Bye.